How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Sector 6, and today we're going to be talking about kind of the state of the world again, and look at a possibility for what may be going on in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as far as Zack goes. And that's the possibility that maybe, rather than a second timeline, what we're seeing is some sort of replication of Midgar that's kind of trapped in a bubble. And it's something that we have spoken about before on the channel. It's definitely something that we've touched on, but we've not really dived into it that deep. But now that we've seen a few trailers and we've got a little bit more information and a little bit of context, not much, but a little bit, it's starting to look like it's a possibility. It genuinely is starting to look like there could be some kind of duplicated Midgar, or bubble Midgar, or alternate reality Midgar, or something going on in that region of the world. So, we're going to have a little look at it, we're going to chat about it, and we're going to see what you guys think. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for future content. There's going to be loads more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth stuff coming over the next few months, so make sure you don't miss out. We've got some interviews that are potentially dropping in the next few days, so, keep an eye out for that. But let's jump into this and let's discuss whether or not we're dealing with a bubble Midgar or more. So with all the trailers that we've seen recently, this is something that's kind of started picking up in my mind a little bit, because the only place that we've seen anything that could potentially be in another timeline is Midgar. Now, that could be for numerous reasons. It could just be because that's where the focal point is at the minute in the trailers. It could be that as that story progresses, we see more of that world. But at the minute, all we're seeing is Midgar, because it's kind of establishing what's going on over on that side of things. So, it is possible that we've just not seen enough, but it is a little bit sus that the only place, like I say, that we've seen weird timeliney stuff go on so far seems to be Midgar. And that makes me think back to the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. In the end, we see the big dome of light over Midgar as Zack has survived, and we see it dissipating. We see the sparkles of light kind of coming down from the air, and we also see that going on in Midgar as well. But let's rewind a bit first, because we see a dome before that, and that's when Sephiroth's on the end of the highway and we're facing him down, and we see all of the whispers, and they kind of burst out from the Shinra building, and they seem to form a dome over Midgar. And the very first thing that we see after that is Zack. And then, like I say, the story progresses, we see Zack survive, we see all the sparkling lights coming down, and like I said earlier, we don't only see that around Zack, we see that in Midgar as well. And we see it around the party after they've defeated the Whispers. So once the party defeats the Whispers, just before we go to fight Sephiroth, we get the cool little cutscene, and then we see all the sparkles of light floating around Aerith and Cloud and the rest of the party there as well. But once they defeat Sephiroth, that's it. We don't see them anymore. So this kind of leads me to think that the Whispers have tried to do something. I would guess that the Whispers have tried to create like a shell around Midgar to stop anything getting in and anything getting out. That seems to be what they've tried to do. And then we've defeated them as the party, and we've broke through from that. So we see the final remnants of the lights kind of falling around. Then we go and encounter Sephiroth, and then after we come out of that, that's it, we're away from the light. I kind of feel like what could potentially have happened here is, when the Whispers have tried to protect Midgar in the present day at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's echoed across time potentially, and at the very least it seems to have reached out to this moment in time where Zack is having his big last stand. So you can potentially assume that this action by the Whispers has caused an issue in this area of space across all of time. And 99% of those time frames, nothing different happened. But in 2 of them, something different happened. The one where we defeat the Whispers, defeat Sephiroth and leave, and the one where Zack survives his last stand and takes Cloud into Midgar. They seem to be the only 2 instances where something different has happened, and there's only one common factor in both of them, and that's Cloud. So it seems like it's potentially something to do with Cloud. And that's why in this timeline where Zack has survived, Cloud has remained in his catatonic state. I would guess it's similar to what's going on with Aerith as well. Now, that's not the only possibility for how Zack has survived, but it seems like the simplest one, and it seems like the simplest explanation, that when this has happened, and everyone's kind of crossed into Midgar, something has broken about Midgar. Something about Midgar's reality and Midgar's existence has broken. And this is why I'm extremely interested to see if when we get our hands on Rebirth fully, we can go back to Midgar. And I'm not expecting us to be able to get into Midgar, because we couldn't in the OG, but what do we see when we go and look at Midgar? That's what I'm interested in. Because there's a couple of possibilities for this. There's the possibility that Midgar as a location is just broken now, and seems to have some weird merged timeline going on within it, where it's kind of taken aspects of the state of Midgar after we defeat Sephiroth, and the state of Midgar when Zack survives his last stand. It seems to be that it's taken both of those instances of Midgar and just kind of smushed them together into one existence of Midgar, where certain people are still dead, like Jesse, but other people, like Biggs and Zack, are alive. And the question is, has this version of Midgar overwritten the Midgar that we left, and is that now the version of Midgar? Or do we still have the version of Midgar that we left, and for some reason a duplicate of Midgar has been created? Be that in an alternate reality, another timeline, the live stream, wherever that may be, it's been copied basically. That's kind of one of the questions that I'm kind of struggling with at the minute and trying to figure out. Because, yeah, there's something going on weird with Midgar, 100%. All of the imagery at the end of Remake kind of suggested that, especially when you look back at it now after having seen some of these trailers, it provokes a lot of questions. But they're not the only questions that come from this. I mean, one question that we could ask is, did the Whispers mean to do this? Were the Whispers intentionally trying to reach out at Zack and grab him and bring him into this Midgar? Or were they intentionally trying to create a pocket Midgar so that they could then overwrite this new Midgar with it? I don't know. It could just be that it is a second timeline, it could be various other things. But this Midgar in a bubble, it's an interesting question that's kind of becoming more and more. Like, is it confirmation that the Whispers saved Zack? I don't know. Sephiroth doesn't seem massively concerned by any of it though, so maybe this is part of his grand plan. Like, it's very possible that he's gone for this, but it's also very possible that this is kind of like a side effect that he's not really noticed. So I'm kind of unsure with Sephiroth, like, whether this fits into his plan. We do hear talk of the merging of worlds, and could that be the bubble expanding maybe? Could it be that he wanted this weird reality of Midgar to be created where Cloud and Aerith are just both out of the game completely, and then he wants to make that the main reality? Could that be it maybe? Could the bubble be expanding? Is it going to be restricted to just Midgar? Or will we see this new reality kind of bleeding in to the world that Cloud and the party and everybody are in? Because we do hear Sephiroth talk about the merging of worlds, and it might not be this that he's talking about, but it could be this that he's talking about. Maybe this is part of his plan. Maybe it was to create a new reality where things are different and where the two main issues, the two main things that stop his plan, Cloud and Aerith, are out of the game. And if that's the case and that reality is expanding and slowly taking over, what kind of effects are we going to see of that in the world? You know, how is that going to manifest itself? Is it going to be kind of radiating out from Midgar and gradually growing over time, or is it going to be more random and we're going to see characters that we expect to be dead appearing randomly in other places? I don't know. There's a few possibilities with this. Another interesting thing as well, I've kind of just been looking at this from the perspective of Sephiroth and the Whispers being the main kind of causes to this. But while it is Sephiroth that kind of sets everything in motion, and it is the Whispers that put the dome up around Midgar, the person who messes with it is Aerith. And when she does mess with it and we see that portal change from like a swirling dark portal into a light portal, the light effect is reasonably similar to what we see when we see the lights falling around the people of Midgar and around Zack and around the party, etc, etc. So that opens up the possibility that in that moment, Aerith has done something to this dome, this portal, and that is what has had a knock-on effect. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the minute with this theory. We've got this potential for Midgar to have been duplicated in some way. Maybe it's a second timeline and we've only seen things in Midgar. Maybe it's a pocket Midgar. Maybe it's kind of an alternate reality that's been manifested by the live stream. Either way, whichever one it is, it seems like there's something very strange going on in Midgar, and it's definitely something that's connected to the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Those events at the end of Remake where we defy fate, defeat Sephiroth, and leave Midgar, that chain of events there has done something that, in my mind, it's broken reality. And this is how we get around it being one timeline or two timelines, because it's technically both. And it's the same conversation with, is it a remake or is it a sequel? If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know my thoughts on this. It's mostly a sequel. There's a little bit of remake in there, but it's mostly a sequel. You've got characters acting quite a bit differently to how they did in the OG, based on things that they shouldn't know about and that haven't happened yet, except they have, hence sequel. But I'm not going to get down that rabbit hole, that's a separate video. Coming back round to the topic of this video, it kind of leaves a fair few questions regarding Midgar, like, is this the only Midgar that exists, or is it a duplication? Has it overwritten the Midgar that we were in, and it's there in its place now? Or is it existing in a second timeline? Is it existing within the live stream? Like, did the Whispers just Control-C, Control-V all of Midgar and just back it up? And just as one final little bit of confirmation, if it's needed, but at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, when we enter into the portal that was created by Sephiroth, that was altered by Aerith, where do we appear? Yep, that's a duplicate of Midgar. So we've left one Midgar, entered a duplicate of Midgar, and that's where we fight the Whisper Harbinger and everything like that. So the Whispers have already seemingly created this duplicate of Midgar. So is this just a backup Midgar that we're looking at? There are a lot of possibilities. Because it could have been something that Sephiroth was planning for all along. It could have been something that's happened directly as a result of Aerith interacting with that portal. You've got to remember that as soon as the Whisper Dome appears over Midgar, like I said earlier in the video, the first thing that we see is Zack's last stand. And if that's fresh in everybody's mind when they interact with the portal and interact with the Whisper Harbingers and defeat them, maybe that's why reality was broken at that point as well. I think it's more likely that Midgar across all of time is a bit fucked at this point. That's kind of where I'm leaning, that all of Midgar has just been completely fucked. Every Midgar in every timeline, in every existence, has just been broken right now. And the only Midgar that we've got is this Midgar that Zack is in, and the one where Cloud and Aerith are asleep. That is the only Midgar that we potentially have now. And this is why I'm saying, when we get to Rebirth, I need to turn around and look at Midgar as soon as I'm capable of it. Like, I just need to see what it looks like. But I feel like I've waffled on enough for this video. There are a lot of weird, interesting possibilities going on as far as Midgar goes, as far as this weird pocket timeline. What's going to be the effect of people in that timeline on the real world? So, for example, if Aerith dies in the real world, does the Aerith in Midgar wake up? And same with Cloud. If Cloud dies in the real world, will that version of Cloud wake up? Are they even connected? They might not even be connected. I don't think we've seen anybody yet who has been in both. You know, like that we can confirm has been in both of these realities, other than Cloud and Aerith. And both of them are unconscious. I'm trying to wrap my brain back now and think if we've seen anyone in Midgar in any of the other trailers that we've also seen in Rebirth trailers. I know we've seen them all in Remake, but discount that. From the point of the ending onwards, who have we seen in both timelines? People are going to say Marlene, not confirmed. We don't know if that Marlene that we saw at the end of Remake was in either timeline. We don't know which is which. And I don't think we've seen anybody else. Let me know in the comments below if there is anybody else that we've seen in both realities. But yeah, I'm going to end this one here because I'm reaching the point of rambling now. But there's definitely something weird going on with Midgar. The main things to think about: why has this happened? Was it a combination of everything, or was it something Aerith did? Was it something Sephiroth did? Was it something the Whispers and the planet have tried to do? And what are the mechanics of it? So is it an alternate timeline? Is it just a pocket Midgar in its own little bubble? Is it a Midgar that exists within the live stream? Is it a Midgar that's replaced the Midgar that we left? Is it expanding? There's so many things to think about. It could just be nothing. It could just be as simple as two timelines, and we've just not seen the rest of the other timeline. But I think it's sus that we've only seen Midgar. It set alarm bells ringing for me. But yeah, let me know what you're thinking about this in the comments below. How do you feel about it? Have you heard any of these theories before? Like I say, Cosmo Canyon Observatory did a theory on this a long time ago. where they were talking about how this seems to be a reality in the live stream potentially, and could have smashed it, if I'm being honest with you, based on what we've seen. Cosmo Canyon Observatory could have absolutely smashed it with that one. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe for future content, keep an eye out on the channel because we've got a lot more stuff coming over the next few days. We've got a Game Informer interview coming in like the next 24, 48 hours, so we'll be all over that when we get it. And yeah, we're going to keep talking about this because there's still a lot of stuff to talk about from these trailers. So yeah, like, sub, all the things, but more importantly than any of that, have a great day.